Bitter Feast. Written and copyright by A.A. Castor. Welcome everyone to A.A. Castor Book Club. Today's story is Bitter Feast. Prepare yourselves for a chilling and macabre journey, where love, betrayal, and revenge collide in a horrifying narrative. Chapter 1. The Discovery. Samantha had always trusted John implicitly. They had been married for 10 years, and in that time, she had never once doubted his loyalty. But that changed one fateful evening when she accidentally saw a message on his phone. It was a text from an unknown number, filled with affectionate words and promises of secret meetings. Her heart sank, and a cold chill ran down her spine as she realized her husband was cheating on her. Confronting John was not an option, at least not yet. Samantha needed to be sure before she could accuse him of infidelity. She decided to play detective, sifting through his phone while he was asleep. Her worst fears were confirmed when she found a string of messages between John and a woman named Lisa. The messages left no room for doubt. They were having an affair. Samantha's mind was in turmoil. She spent sleepless nights wondering why John would betray her. What did Lisa have that she didn't? She replayed their years together in her mind, searching for any sign she might have missed. The betrayal gnawed at her, eating away at her sanity. Her love for John was now tainted with an all-consuming need for revenge. "Why, John? Why did you do this to me?" she whispered to herself in the darkness of their bedroom, tears streaming down her face. Days turned into weeks, and the betrayal continued to fester in Samantha's heart. She became obsessed with Lisa, stalking her social media profiles and piecing together details of her life. Samantha's anger boiled over when she saw a photo of John and Lisa together, smiling as if they didn't have a care in the world. The image burned into her mind, fueling her resolve to make them both pay for their betrayal. Samantha's friends noticed the change in her demeanor. She became withdrawn and distant, barely able to focus on her work or social activities. Concerned, her best friend Rachel tried to reach out to her. "Samantha, you've been acting strange lately. Is everything okay?" Rachel asked one afternoon over coffee. Samantha forced a smile, hiding the storm of emotions brewing inside her. "I'm fine, just a bit stressed with work." Rachel frowned, not entirely convinced. "You know you can talk to me about anything, right?" "Of course," Samantha replied, though she had no intention of revealing the truth. Her plan was already in motion, and she couldn't afford any distractions. Chapter 2. Setting the Trap. Determined to confront Lisa, Samantha devised a plan. She would use John's phone to lure Lisa into a meeting. She waited until John was in the shower, then grabbed his phone and sent a message to Lisa, pretending to be him. She arranged to meet Lisa at a secluded cafe on the outskirts of town. The day of the meeting arrived, and Samantha felt a mix of nervousness and grim determination. She watched from a distance as Lisa arrived at the cafe, looking around expectantly. Samantha approached her from behind, heart pounding in her chest. "Lisa?" Samantha asked, her voice trembling slightly. Lisa turned, her face breaking into a smile. "Yes? Are you John's wife?" Samantha nodded, struggling to keep her emotions in check. "I need to talk to you. It's about John." Lisa's smile faded, replaced by a look of confusion. "Is everything okay?" Samantha forced a smile. "Let's go somewhere private." They walked to Samantha's car, and once they were out of sight, Samantha struck Lisa on the head with a heavy wrench she had hidden in her bag. Lisa crumpled to the ground, unconscious. Samantha quickly loaded her into the trunk and drove home, adrenaline pumping through her veins. As Samantha drove, her mind raced with the reality of what she had done. There was no turning back now. She had crossed a line, and she would see it through to the end. The plan that had been forming in her mind for weeks was now in motion, and she felt a grim satisfaction at the thought of what was to come. When she arrived home, Samantha carefully checked to make sure no one was around before she carried Lisa into the house and down to the basement. She tied Lisa to a chair and gagged her with masking tape, ensuring she wouldn't scream when she woke up. She then waited, watching as Lisa slowly regained consciousness, her eyes widening in fear when she realized where she was and who had taken her. "Why did you do it?" Samantha demanded, her voice cold and steady. "Why did you sleep with my husband?" Lisa mumbled incoherently through the tape, tears streaming down her face. Samantha ripped the tape off, ignoring Lisa's cries of pain. I didn't mean to hurt you," Lisa stammered. "He told me you two were having problems." Samantha's laugh was hollow and devoid of humor. "Problems? You are the problem, Lisa." Without another word, Samantha retrieved a large butcher knife from the table behind her. Lisa's eyes widened in terror as Samantha approached. "No, please, don't," Lisa begged, struggling against her restraints. Samantha's expression was blank, her voice devoid of emotion. "You touched my husband. Now you're going to pay." With a swift motion, Samantha sliced into Lisa's hand, severing it cleanly at the wrist. Lisa's scream echoed through the basement, a sound of pure agony. Chapter 3. The First Meal. Samantha worked methodically, her mind focused on her grim task. She cooked Lisa's severed hand with care, seasoning it just right and preparing a dish she knew John would love. That evening, she served it to him, watching with a twisted sense of satisfaction as he ate. "This is delicious," John said, his eyes lighting up with genuine pleasure. "What is it?" Samantha smiled sweetly. "Just a new recipe I found. I'm glad you like it." John nodded, taking another bite. "I love it. You should cook more often." Samantha's smile widened. "Oh, I plan to. From now on, I'll be cooking all our meals." Over the next few weeks, Samantha continued to feed John parts of Lisa's body, each meal prepared with meticulous care. John remained blissfully ignorant, praising Samantha's cooking and unknowingly consuming the flesh of his mistress. Samantha's hatred for both of them fueled her actions, driving her to ever greater acts of depravity. Chapter 4. A Year of Horror. Over the course of the next year, Samantha continued her gruesome ritual. She cut pieces from Lisa's body, one by one, each time cooking them into meals for John. Lisa's body was mutilated beyond recognition, but Samantha kept her alive, savoring her suffering. John remained blissfully ignorant, praising Samantha's cooking and unknowingly consuming the flesh of his mistress. Samantha's hatred for both of them fueled her actions, driving her to ever greater acts of depravity. One evening, as John complimented her cooking yet again, Samantha couldn't help but laugh. "I'm so happy you like it," she said, her voice dripping with malice. "You have no idea how much effort I put into these meals." John looked up, puzzled. "What do you mean?" Samantha just smiled and shook her head. "Nothing, dear. Just enjoy your dinner." As the months passed, Lisa's condition deteriorated. Samantha continued to keep her alive, but just barely. She took perverse pleasure in watching Lisa suffer, knowing that every piece she cut from her was another piece of revenge. One night, John mentioned that he had noticed Lisa's disappearance on the news. "It's strange," he said, frowning. "She just vanished without a trace." Samantha forced a look of concern. "That's terrible. I hope they find her soon." John nodded, his mind already moving on to other topics. Samantha felt a surge of satisfaction. He had no idea that the woman he had betrayed her with was slowly being consumed, piece by piece. The nights were the hardest for Lisa. She would lie awake in the dark basement, her body aching from the wounds and the cold. Samantha would sometimes visit her, just to watch her suffer. "Do you regret it?" Samantha would ask, her voice cold. Lisa, too weak to respond, would just look at her with pleading eyes. Samantha would nod, satisfied with the silent answer. "You should. You deserve every bit of this." Chapter 5. The Anniversary. As their anniversary approached, Samantha decided it was time for the final act of her gruesome plan. She had been planning this moment for months, and now everything was finally coming together. She wanted to make sure that the culmination of her revenge was perfect, a fitting end to the horror she had orchestrated. Samantha spent the entire day preparing a lavish feast for their anniversary dinner. She cooked with meticulous care, making sure each dish was perfect. The table was set with their finest china, and candles flickered softly, casting a warm glow over the room. The centerpiece of the meal was a large roast, the last of Lisa's body parts. John arrived home from work, a smile on his face. "Happy anniversary, darling," he said, kissing her on the cheek. "This looks amazing." "Thank you, John," Samantha replied, her voice sweet and calm. "I wanted to make tonight special." They sat down to eat, and John dug in with enthusiasm. "This is incredible," he said between bites. "You really outdid yourself." Samantha watched him eat, a twisted smile playing on her lips. "I'm glad you like it. There's a special dessert tonight, too." John raised an eyebrow, intrigued. "Oh, what is it?" "You'll see," Samantha replied, her eyes glinting with anticipation. After they finished the main course, Samantha disappeared into the kitchen to fetch the dessert. She returned with a covered platter, setting it down in front of John with a flourish. "Here it is," she said, lifting the cover to reveal Lisa's severed head, perfectly preserved and presented on a silver tray. John's face went pale, and he recoiled in horror. What is this?" he stammered, his voice shaking. Samantha's smile widened. "This is Lisa, John. The woman you cheated on me with. You've been eating her for the past year." John's eyes widened in shock and disbelief. "No, this can't be true." "Oh, but it is," Samantha said, her voice filled with satisfaction. "Every meal, every bite you praised, it was all her." John's hands trembled as he pushed the plate away, his face contorting with revulsion. "You're insane," he whispered. "How could you do this?" Samantha laughed, a cold, chilling sound. "I did it for us, John, to make you see what you've done, to make you pay." John clutched his chest, his breathing growing labored. The shock and horror were too much for him to bear. He collapsed to the floor, gasping for breath. Samantha watched, her expression unchanging, as John succumbed to a heart attack. She felt no pity, no remorse. He had brought this upon himself. Chapter 6. The Aftermath. With John dead, Samantha set about cleaning up the evidence. She meticulously scrubbed the house, removing any trace of her grisly deeds. She disposed of the remains, making sure nothing could be traced back to her. When she was satisfied that everything was in order, she called the authorities to report John's death. "My husband had a heart attack," she sobbed into the phone, her performance flawless. "Please, send help." The paramedics arrived quickly, but it was too late. John was pronounced dead at the scene, and Samantha played the grieving widow to perfection. She cried and clung to the paramedics, her sorrow convincing everyone around her. The police conducted a brief investigation, but there was no evidence of foul play. John's death was ruled a tragic accident, and Samantha was left to mourn in peace. Chapter 7. A New Beginning. With John gone and her revenge complete, Samantha felt a strange sense of liberation. She had been through hell and back, but now she was free. Free from the betrayal, free from the anger, and free to start a new life. She sold the house and moved to a new city, where no one knew her past. She reinvented herself, building a new life from the ashes of the old. She found a new job, made new friends, and slowly began to heal. As the years passed, Samantha's memories of the horror she had endured and inflicted began to fade. She rarely thought of John or Lisa, and when she did, it was with a sense of detachment. That chapter of her life was over and she had moved on. She found happiness again, though it was a different kind of happiness. It was quieter, more subdued, but it was real. She had learned to live with herself and the choices she had made. Chapter 8. The Final Reflection. Years later, on the anniversary of John's death, Samantha found herself reflecting on the events that had led her to where she was. She didn't regret what she had done. It had been necessary, a way to reclaim her life and her sanity. She visited John's grave, standing in silence as she remembered the man she had once loved and the monster he had become. She laid a single rose on his headstone, a final farewell to the past. As she walked away, she felt a sense of closure. The darkness that had once consumed her was gone, replaced by a calm acceptance. She had survived and she had rebuilt her life. Samantha lived the rest of her days in peace, her past a distant memory. She had been through the depths of hell and emerged stronger for it. And in the end, she found a measure of happiness that she had never thought possible. She had faced her demons, conquered them, and emerged victorious. And that, she realized, was the greatest revenge of all. Thank you for tuning in to today's episode. If you enjoyed the story and would like to hear more, please share this podcast with your friends and rate it on your favorite podcast platform. Don't forget to visit my website at www.tonyc.info for more content, updates, and exclusive behind-the-scenes insights. This podcast is mainly supported by listeners like you. If you want to help keep the stories coming, consider supporting me on Patreon at www.patreon.com/JTAC. Even just $1 a month makes a huge difference and helps me continue to create the content you love. Thank you again for listening. Your support means the world to me. Until next time, stay safe and keep exploring the unknown.